Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. Quick shout out to my newest patrons, George G and Johnny T. Thank you for choosing to support the channel. To everybody that took a second yesterday to wish me well in the comments or on Twitter, I just wanted to say thank you. It's definitely going to be a process for the next few months, but we'll manage it and we'll get it sorted out. And seriously, I love you guys and I am wildly grateful for this community. First up today, Tesla's legal team in China has been putting in work as of late. In this legal battle, we had Tesla against Boss Kai, who is a famous TikToker in China, and the court did find that the video's content was fabricated and intended to defame Tesla. There was some back and forth in court, but this ruling is now final. Among other things, one of the disinformation pieces that Boss Kai was spreading, a friend of his who worked as a Tesla supplier had revealed some violations when it comes to suppliers. All that really matters now, though, is Boss Kai will have to apologize to Tesla publicly, keep it up for at least 90 days on the social media channels, and compensate Tesla 100,000 yuan or about $14,500 US. Of course, the financial compensation for Tesla is essentially meaningless, but hopefully lawsuits won by Tesla like this will deter other people from doing the same. From Drive Tesla Canada, it looks like Tesla has chosen to walk away from about $6.4 million in state funding that would have funded 4 supercharging locations. These sites were going to be in Baker, Willows, Barstow, and Coalinga, and pretty big sites at that. This does not mean that these projects are dead, it just may be a delay or a change in configuration. Tesla's policy and business development lead said due to unnecessarily cumbersome payment infrastructure requirements, we are unable to utilize this award. DTC added that each project had to have a minimum of 50% of CCS connectors, which should not be prohibitive with the Magic Dock. It's just Tesla didn't like the terms. We get a new picture of a V4 stall from Fritz Vanens. So here it is. It would appear that the cable is a bit longer, but honestly, it's very tough to tell from this image given that most of the cable is still on the other side of this stall. Some folks have asked if this has the Magic Dock, but remember in Europe, Tesla is already using the CCS standard as standard. They don't use the NACS connector in Europe. It is, however, a fair question to see any differences for the V4 supercharger rollout when it comes to the United States. Now we just need somebody to go and test this because if you remember, one of the placards on one of these stalls said that the performance statistics were the same. That actually made it look like a V3 stall, so we'll see. So I personally don't play this game, but I do think it's pretty cool that people have the ability to and to do so like this. Here we have Tengku Zafrul, who is the Minister of International Trade and Industry of Malaysia, saying following Tesla's announcement of investment in, yes, this is the Malaysian flag, also known as Stripes of Glory, I received a visit from Tesla. They're the first applicant of the BEV Global Leaders Initiative aimed at boosting BEV development in Malaysia. We will continue to support Tesla's project implementation and future expansion in Malaysia. Hopefully, over the past few months, you all have picked up on the drumbeat of Tesla continuing to expand everywhere globally, while most other OEMs are closing offices or closing plants and laying off workers. Every time I leave my wallet in the car or leave my house without my wallet, I now get a notification on my phone letting me know that I left it behind. That's because my wallet has a built-in slot for an Apple AirTag, which has honestly been a really nice upgrade to my life. So shout out to Ekster for sponsoring this video, but the truth is I would be recommending them even if they weren't. They have a ton of products to choose from. It's not just wallets. We're talking overnight bags, money clips, key holders, solar trackers that can offer a slimmer profile than the AirTag option. With these, you can actually ring your phone from the tracker and you can ring the tracker from your phone. But one of my favorites is the MagSafe wallet that I'll use if I'm just running to a friend's house. Ekster wallets have RFID protection, and in my humble opinion, every single person should have this technology in their wallets. We know scammers seem to be populating more frequently nowadays. This wallet has been my daily driver for about a year now, and as you can see, it's held up incredibly well. I'm still loving the card fan feature, and it's perfect for my needs. Right now, Ekster is offering Electrified viewers up to 25% off if you use my link in the description below, and thanks in advance to anyone choosing to support the channel in this way. Alright guys, here we have it. We got the weekly insurance data for Tesla in China, and I will confidently say it was very good, ahead of expectations, but now we have a lot that we can actually dive into and understand. The number for the most recent week was 17,032. For context, Troy Teslike was expecting around 14,000. Now we do have to keep in mind that typically one of the last weeks of each quarter will be lower when it comes to domestic China sales, so just keep that in mind. And if you want to compare to the same week in Q4, that number was 12,977. In a moment, we're going to use this 30,000 figure that comes from adding the most two recent weeks of insurance data. Here's Tesla's data in bar chart form. So since the price cuts around right here, we have seen a pretty steady trend up. And yes, there's other factors, the Chinese holiday, the export versus domestic shift, but I would also point out that this is the best weekly reading since September of last year. So yes, this week was actually better than any week throughout all of Q4, and we know that typically with auto sales, Q1 is usually slower. And don't forget, the main EV incentives went away at the turn of the new year. And quickly, here's the same data for BYD. Pause the screen if you want, but the bar chart will be more eye-opening. Here's the bar chart for BYD. One of the first things you may notice is that no week during all of Q1 for BYD has even come close to setting a new record to what it did during Q4. Reading between the lines, the price cuts have been impacting all automakers in China, and Tesla has gained some relative competitive advantage with its price cuts, which just means relative to other automakers, Tesla has become a bit more attractive. And I think it's still a good rule of thumb to cut BYD's numbers in half if you want to find out true full BEV deliveries, which for the most recent week would be about 18,500, and Tesla is not too far behind that number. Coming back to Tesla's numbers, here's that 30,000 number I was talking about using the most two recent weeks of the weekly insurance data. So if we do Q4 total, 121.6 thousand, minus January, minus February, minus our March estimate, that leaves 30,700 vehicles for Tesla to deliver over the remaining 2.5 weeks in March to be on par with Q4, which in my eyes, given all the circumstances, the incentives going away, the economy being tough, the price wars, yada yada, that would be a big W. 30,800 divided by 2.5 is about 12,300 for the next 2.5 weeks or the remainder of March. That's the number to keep in mind, in my opinion. This feels like a good time to say whether Tesla beats Q4 in China or falls a bit short, in the long run, it means nothing. I just enjoy trying to keep everybody informed. There's more. We have this from a Chinese auto analyst. In my 20 plus years of covering the Chinese auto market, I don't think I've ever seen the severity, scope, and desperateness of price cuts in both the EV and ICE space that's taken place over the past few weeks, and more that is potentially coming. There's going to be a lot of losers. Another industry watcher, Yaloon, said it's an absolute bloodbath out there. When Tesla kicked it off in January, not sure they envisioned this situation, and Lee said we can blame Tesla. I won't read all of these, but we have a China OEM price drop tracker. Top of the list, BMW i3 so far this year, over 100,000 RMB, which is almost $15,000. For context, Tesla lowered the price of the Model 3 back in January, 36,000 RMB, which is around 5,000 US dollars. Here is the bottom half of the list, and no, this list is not exhaustive. How about a bit of data to cover this bloodbath narrative? Well, the first 2 months of retail sales for some legacy OEMs in the Chinese market. Looking at this column, the year-over-year change. Scrolling down, you see some numbers, down 24%, down 44%. The SAIC GM partnership, down 30%. Great Wall Motor, down 47%. So yes, it's still only 2 months of data, and yes, the macro economy in China is very challenging right now, but these are threads that we have to keep watching. Some companies like NIO are not on this list, but I don't know if you noticed, there's only one number above 3%, and that's from BYD, up 72% year over year. Before we move on, let's come back here and give some more context. This is Q1 2023, this is Q1 2022. So Tesla's domestic deliveries in Q1 last year ended at 108.3 thousand. So if we take this number minus what we have so far in January, minus February, minus our estimate for March, that leaves 17,400 units for Tesla to deliver to break even with Q1 of last year to be year over year flat. Given that there's 2.5 weeks left in March and we just got a reading of over 17,000 for 1 week, I think that seems likely that Tesla will be in the positive for year over year growth. This at a time when most of the market is in free fall is a very good sign. One final thought, a sentiment I shared with Yaloon. The pressure that Tesla, BYD, and other NEV brands put on legacy OEMs is immense. Many new EV brands are also willing to sell vehicles at effectively 0% margin or negative margin to earn market share today. Tesla's price cuts in January did not help. So yeah, BYD is moving a lot of units, but if they raise prices 25% to maybe have margins around 25% like Tesla, would they sell as many vehicles? And just to be clear, if you're new, I am pro all EVs. I'm rooting for BYD. It's just when people like Charlie Munger put narratives out there that BYD is crushing Tesla in China, I feel compelled to share some data that would go contrary to what he's saying. In case you heard that noise yesterday about Tesla and BYD ending its battery supply deal, Elon chimed in and said that media report is false. Relations between Tesla and BYD are positive. And from Reuters, BYD is apparently on the same page, also denying that report. We got some new comments on Tesla from the Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg, who said on one hand, they've done undeniably extraordinary work and made the country better off with their acceleration of EV manufacturing, and provided a template that a lot of their competitors are racing to keep up with. He then proceeded to balance out that optimism with he still doesn't like the naming of autopilot. But when your own government doesn't throw you a bone that often, we have to cover quotes like this in the yellow when we can. All right, this one is wild to me. We have VW saying over the next 5 years, they plan to spend $193 billion with a B dollars that will go to things like battery production and raw material sourcing, among others. If you do the math, 193 billion divided by 5 years is over $38 billion invested per year. This is from Tesla's most recent 10K. Their capital expenditures were $7.16 billion for all of 2022 and $6.48 billion in 2021. Thus, VW is planning to spend roughly 5 times the amount that Tesla did in terms of capital expenditures. Now, sure, if you want to argue it's not a direct apples to apples comparison, I'm not really going to argue that, but I'm a context guy and I thought that those numbers would help. Over 2/3 of VW's investment plans over the next 5 years will be allocated to electrification and better digital interfacing, including up to $15 billion for batteries and raw materials. VW says it still has a goal to bring an affordable EV to market by 2025, coming in around $26,000. Color me very skeptical. I say that because VW also said their overall target is having solid financials, and I personally don't think VW can sell too many cars for $26,000 and still maintain solid financials even in 2025. You know how Tesla just got roasted for laying out a detailed plan on how they were going to manufacture a car to actually come to market around this price? Well, we have companies like VW throwing around huge investment numbers and saying by then we will hopefully have made some significant progress in attaining a significant supply of raw materials. Notice the difference? VW just hopes to have one of the most fundamental aspects of this EV movement, raw materials. This doesn't inspire much confidence for me, and going back to the investment numbers that are staggering, remember, Tesla spends $1 about as efficiently as anybody on the planet, so they can already spend less than others and do more with that investment. So the question is, VW can spend as much as it wants, but what can it actually accomplish with those investments? That is the question. The 2024 model year Hummer EV will be outfitted with a new 19.2 kilowatt onboard charger, replacing the previous 11.5 kilowatt one, which did not provide for bi-directional charging. This next year version will have bi-directional charging. The new onboard charger will be on the truck and the SUV. A quick fun fact from Bloomberg: in December of last year, fully electric vehicles accounted for 7% of North America car production. This is an increase from 4.7% in December 2021. So as we march along the path to this number becoming 100%, we are still literally in the first inning. Porsche just came out and confirmed it will impose significant price increases on its models when it releases the new model year vehicles in the middle of this year to try to keep its profit margins as high as 20% in the long term, a feat that Tesla is already accomplishing, by the way. Don't forget, check out Ekster, linked below. Get that 25% off. Browse around for something for you or your family. You can find me on Twitter at DylanLoomis22. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Please like the video if you did, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.